about ads. Ads are everywhere. Okay, so this is in Science and Technology, and in your booklet, this is around page 107. Okay, so we're in Unit 3 now, and a very nice lesson. It's quite a long lesson, probably enough for 2 lessons. This will probably take you about 100 minutes if you go through this all in all. But a very useful lesson with some very useful skills work as well. Yeah, and the skills work is this: recognizing lecture language that signals the organization of the lecture. Okay, so we've looked at this before. It was in a Unit 2 lesson. I think it was about restaurants, identifying the topic and the subtopic. So this is kind of an extension of that. I think we've probably looked at this lecture language as well in level 2. I can't immediately remember which lesson. But the reason that we continue to repeat this skills focus is that it is very important. Okay, if we can understand the organization of the lecture, the listening becomes much more straightforward. Okay, so the professor will tell you the topic at the beginning of the lecture, and they'll also give you a general plan of the lecture. Okay, so first we'll look at this, then this, then this. Well, it's that language which is important, which allows us to create our template that we can then base our notes around. Yeah? This is important language not just if we're listening, but if we're speaking. We also need to give this information to our audience so that they can better follow what we are telling them. Yeah. So we've got some examples here. So first we will look at pizza, then I'll move on to look at sushi. Today I'm going to give you a few examples of sushi. What I want to do today is discuss pizza and the causes of obesity. Yes, we'll look at several ways that pizza makes us happy. Yeah? Before we talk about pizza, I want to give you some background information on sushi. Yeah? And this is interesting because we think that this topic is going to be first. So before we talk about pizza, I want to give you some information on sushi. He's not going to talk about pizza first, he's going to talk about sushi first. Yeah? So before this, I will give you some information on this. Yeah? So we do need to listen carefully. This language is very important, and it often comes right at the start of the lecture, before we've done anything. Yes, when we're just about sat down, and if we miss this, we really are playing catch up through the rest of the lecture. A lecture which could be 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes long. Yeah? Right, okay, well, let's have a look at some examples then. Now, before we do this, it's probably a good idea here to do this quiz. Yeah, and we'll find this quiz on Schoology. And this quiz will help us understand the context of ads and advertising better. So we've got some questions here, just for you to think about. You don't need to write anything, just for you to think about. And then there's some text here with some very important vocab that we will encounter in our listenings. Yeah? Answer these questions. Again, you don't need to write anything down. You just need to think about your answers. Yeah? And then here's some multiple choice, and this will be marked automatically. Yeah? Yes, this is very interesting. Yeah? We see these graphics now at the end of football matches, and of course these are not on the pitch. These are computer-generated graphics. Yeah, so this is before, this is after. Yeah, very interesting. So do the quiz before we start this listening, or before we start this even skills focus, because this will help us better understand what we're reading, what we're listening to. Okay, so when you've done that, let's move on and explore this skills work in more detail. Read each introduction. Okay, so we've got 2 introductions here. Circle the topic, put a square box around the organisation, underline and label the lecture language that signals the topic and the organisation. So try to do that yourself. Come back here and we'll do it together. Okay. So we'll be talking about techniques that advertisers use to sell movies. Okay, so that's the topic. That's the topic. Yeah? We'll be talking about, this signals the organization, yeah, or this signals the lecture language. So we should have underlined this. This afternoon, we'll look at several ways that, so again, this is more lecture language, several ways the movie industry advertises to moviegoers. But before that, so this is more lecture language, I want to illustrate where advertisers place their ads. Okay, so this is the topic. Techniques advertisers use, that's the topic. The first subtopic, illustrate where they put their ads. And then the second subtopic, several ways the movie industry advertises to moviegoers. Okay, so once we hear this, which will probably only take about 15 seconds for the lecturer to hear, we've got our template. We've got our title, our topic, and we've got subtopic 1 and subtopic 2. Yeah. So this comes very quickly, and it's very important language. Let's have a look at another example. Today's lecture, we're going to look at how high-tech products are advertised. Okay, so that's the topic, and here's the lecture language we're going to look at. To help you understand how sophisticated these ads are, I want to give you some background on these products. Okay, so some background on the products and the education level of the people who use them. Okay, so this is a subtopic, background of the products, the education level of the people who use them. So that's another subtopic. So we've got the topic, we've got 2 subtopics. Then we'll look at some of the ways promoters reach their target audience. Okay, so now we've got 3 subtopics. And finally, some statistics which show how effective they are. Okay, so a lot of information here. We've got the topic, how high-tech products are advertised, and then we've got 4 subtopics. Some background about the products, the education level of the people who use them, strange, some of the ways the promoters reach their audience, and some statistics which show how effective these methods are. Okay? So again, a lot of very important information that comes very, very quickly. Yeah, we really need to pay attention. We really need to write a lot of this information down. We can't expect the lecturer to repeat this. Yeah? Okay, so I want you to head over to Schoology. There's lecture 1, okay? And here you'll hear the introduction to 3 different lectures. Listen first, write down the lecture language that you hear. Then listen again, write down the topic and the organisation. Yeah. So first, write down the lecture language that you hear. Then listen again, write down the topic and the subtopics. Okay, so part 1 and part 2. Yeah. So do that for each of these. You'll need to listen maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. This is not easy, but this is very important. Okay, so do that for each of these 3 introductions. Come back here and we'll talk about it together. Okay, so get ready. So advertising appeal. So this is the specific topic and this is the lecture language today. Not today. We'll be talking about. Yeah? So this morning what I want to do is, that's more lecture language. Yeah? Compare the appeals that use facts and emotions and then classify many ads. Okay, so the specific topic, advertising appeals. Part 1, comparing appeals. Part 2, classifying ads. Yeah, and we've got some some lecture language here. Introduction to. Let's go back to our discussion of, so this is the lecture language. What influences how people make purchases? So that's the specific topic. What influences how people make purchases? I want to give you some background information on, so this is more lecture language, psychological factors that influence our purchases, and just one part to this lecture. Third one, we're going to look at, so this is the lecture language that signals the topic, we're going to look at brand names. I'm going to look at two aspects of brand names. So this is the lecture language, how they choose a name and how they protect the name. Yeah. So again, and all of this just takes about 30 seconds for the professor to say. This just takes about 25 seconds. This just takes about 25 seconds. Yeah, so we can see we need to listen very carefully because there's a lot of very important information in here. And if we don't listen carefully, if we miss this information, the rest of the lecture becomes very, very difficult for us to listen to, yeah, for us to understand. Okay, I want you to head over to Schoology. If you're happy with that, head over to Schoology. If you need to listen again, if you need to use the tape script, take your time and do that. Okay. Otherwise, head over to Schoology. We can find the lecture in our media album. Ads are everywhere. 9 minutes 24. Okay, so this asynchronous lesson is good for about 100 minutes. Okay, this is a big lesson. Yeah, this will take you about an hour, hour and a half. Watch the lecture, take some notes. You might want to watch the start of the lecture maybe 3 or 4 times to make sure that you fully understand the topic and that you fully understand the structure, the organization of the lecture. Okay. So watch the lecture, take some notes, come back here, and we will talk about the questions together, and we'll go through the answers together. Okay. Right. So, I hope you enjoyed watching that lecture. It's one that I always enjoy watching. What are 4 of the new places people can see ads? 4 of the new places. The back of your receipt, your movie ticket, cars, classroom, sports stadium, restrooms. Okay, so we've got lots of answers here. We just need 4 of them. Yeah. And let's look at the start of the lecture. Yeah, so we'll be discussing advertising again today. Advertising, advertisers, and of course ads. So he gives us a topic. He doesn't actually give us the layout, yeah, which is a bit disappointing actually. Okay, what does the number 3000 refer to? The average person in North America, the number of advertisements they see per day. Wow, 3,000. So many. What are the 2 new kinds of ads explained in the lecture? And give an example. Okay, and these are additional answers for question 1. So on lifts, park benches, schools, books with the logo of the shoe company on it. So these are additional answers for question 1. Okay, so new kinds of advertisements. Ads that don't seem like ads. Okay, so hidden ads. For example, when a movie star or athlete on TV, they've got a t-shirt with the logo for that company. Okay, so that's kind of hidden advertisements. You see them with the hat on, with the logo on the hat. Yes, that's kind of hidden advertisements, and they say they're very effective, much more cost effective. And another one, another kind of advertisement, is this so-called product placement. Yeah, so we see somebody drinking a can of Coca-Cola. Yeah, yeah. So a bottle of soda. We see them drinking a can of Coca-Cola. What else do we see a lot? We see them driving a BMW. Yeah, so that sort of product placement. What are two advantages of these hidden ads? Well, the first advantage we've seen is much more cost effective. Much more cost effective. And the second advantage, I think, where did he say? He said you can't avoid them. Okay, well, here we go. Advertisers can advertise more, the consumers will still pay attention. They have no choice but to notice the ads. They can't avoid these adverts. If you see James Bond driving a BMW, you can't avoid watching that. You're watching the film. If you see Tom Hanks drinking a can of Coca-Cola in a film, you're interested in the film. Yeah, you can't help but notice that he's drinking Coca-Cola. Yeah, so you can't avoid noticing these ads. Number 5, what effect did the increase in the number of TV channels have on the number of advertisements the viewers saw and the advertisers' approach to advertising? A difficult question, this. Yeah? So here, all the new channels, it was easy for people to avoid seeing commercials. So viewers actually watched fewer commercials. Yeah. As a result, advertisers, what did they have to do? They had to start looking in other places, not just TV. They had to find new places to advertise. Yeah. So viewers actually watched fewer adverts because so many channels. As soon as an advert comes on, you change the channel, you watch something else. Advertisers had to innovate. They had to advertise in new places. What is one example of how technology has contributed to the rise of advertising? We saw this in the pre-quiz, yes, with the football score on the grass. Yeah, maybe it looks like a soft drink ad on the fence or on the grass, but it only exists on TV. Okay, it's all computer generated. Let's have another look at that quiz. Yeah, so this is what we're talking about. Yeah, so this is what you would see if you were in the stadium, but this is what you see on TV. Yeah, so these computer-generated graphics: Chelsea 4, Real Madrid 8, and Coca-Cola here in the circle. So that's how technology has started to contribute to the rise in advertising. And again, much like these hidden ads, you can't avoid them. If you're watching the football, you can't avoid that Coca-Cola advert. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, there we go. That's a big meaty lesson. We're not quite finished yet because there is, I think, a dictation to do. So I want you to head over to Schoology, play the dictation. You've got maybe some space here or maybe some space at the back of your booklet to listen and write down exactly what you hear. Then come back here. I will show you the answers and we can call it a day. Okay, right, so we've got two dictation tasks here actually. We've got one for the practice lecture, we've got one for the main lecture. So let's have a look at both of them. Here's the first one. Spelling is important, punctuation is quite important. Yeah? And the practice one. Here you go. If you need more time, you can just pause the video, of course. Right guys, okay, well if you like this video, please like it here on Schoology. If you have any comments, please leave your comments here on Schoology as well. I'm always interested to see your comments, yeah? I will reply to them as soon as I see them. Right, well, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll see you next time for the next lesson. Bye for now.